Welcome to the Sonoma County Library's book repair video series. Today's video is going to be on what's called simple gluing. And primarily, simple gluing is comprised of books that have what's called a publisher's defect. And I'll go into more detail. Let me first describe what you're going to need. You're going to need brushes. You're going to need clean water for your brush. You're going to be Norbond liquid plastic adhesive, something to put your glue on, some cotton swabs, some shop towels, a weight for your book, knitting needles. Yeah, that's going to be fun. We're going to show you how to use those. Wax paper, Mylar strips. You may need an X-Acto knife. You're going to need a bone folder, and then you're going to need rubber bands, and then these are what they call butterfly clips or bulldog clips. You may need those as well. Okay, let's get started. Let me introduce you to the books we're going to be working with today, and so that you can get an idea of what is meant by simple gluing and publisher's defects. So a lot of the books that we purchase, YA fiction, always has this happen to it. You'll notice a lot where it has this little separation. That is very common. It's very easy to fix. We're going to show you how to fix that. That's a simple gluing. Again, same thing. Okay, so we're going to show you how to easily fix those. The next thing we'd want to do is fix the corners and do any of this work and any of the other work that we would need to do. So, and the nice thing is when you do have something like that, it makes it easier to put a wing on it because it's already loose. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to get down in here and we're going to take our glue and we are just going to run it inside and we're going to put it on this edge of the book. So we're just going to squeeze out a thin line in that nice spot there. I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to make sure it gets real good in there. Put some on the edge here. Put a little bit more. But we want to make sure we get it down into that groove first. Okay. And I'm going to brush it along the edge here. And then next place I want to get some glue is in that groove as well. So I'm going to squeeze out another thin line. And using my brush, I'm going to get it in there really good. And like I've said before, water and Norbond work well together. Okay, so once you've got it good and in there, what you're going to want to do, and I'm going to work opposite of what I usually do so you can see, is we're going to take this page and we're now going to flip it down into there. We're going to line up our text block, making sure that we've got this straight, and we're going to smooth the pages into that groove. And then as I make sure I line up my text block, I'm going to push it in until, as you can see, I can see that the pages line up. Work it, work it, work it. Okay. So now that we've got it well lined up, we're going to close our book. As you can see, I have it lined up. I'm going to close my book, but in order to seal the deal, I need to make sure I get the glue in that gutter there. So I'm going to take a knitting needle and I'm going to see how it fits. I need a thinner one, and I am going to stick the knitting needle. Okay, we're going to stick the knitting needle in that little groove, and then I'm going to take, if I have a bulldog clip that's thick enough, but it's not, I'm going to use rubber bands, and I'm going to put 3 rubber bands, one in the middle, one at each end. And then I'm going to place my weight on, I don't want to smash this, but I want there to be weight on there. And then I'm going to leave it to dry. I'm going to keep it as nice and straight as possible, because this also, when you're doing this type of gluing, it's a good way to make sure that you get the shape of the book back to order. So that is simple gluing. I'm going to do another one to show you. Okay. So I'm taking off my Mylar. I'm not going to take my tape off now because it'll take too long. Okay, so there we go. Once again, we're going to want to get our glue down there. We're going to want to put a nice thin line. We're going to want to get our glue in here, and then we may need to trim this a little bit. So I'm going to wait to see if I need to, how much I need to trim. So I've got my glue. I'm going to start by putting a nice thin line down in there. Okay, I'm going to use my brush to make sure I get it in there. I kind of want to stay away from the edge because I don't want to compromise when I put it all back together. I want it to not be so tight. So I'm just going to make sure I get some nice, I'm going to pick some of that up. I'll put some glue on this edge. Very thin amount. And with most book repair, you know, you just after a while get to know the books and get to know how it works. So now that I've got glue all along the edge there, I'm actually going to take some of this off. Okay, and now again we're going to want to work our, so I'm going to trim a little bit of this off. Mostly that jagged edge there. I'm just going to take a little bit of it off so it fits a little better. And I probably should have done this before the glue, but it's okay. Okay, and then there's this little piece sticking up here. Just want to clip. Okay. So now I'm going to take my bone folder, and you're going to watch as I work on getting that down into the gutter. And the way you can tell is, again, it's so important to make sure your text block is lined up. So I've got this lined up. I'm going to make sure this page lines up. And then again, I'm going to gently work it in. I'm going to fold it over Now that I've got it lined up, I'm going to choose the right size. That's about right. I'm going to go a little bit thicker though, because this one was a little tougher to... Yeah. Okay, so once I get that, I'm going to put my rubber bands. I'm going to put one on each end, and I'm going to put one in the middle. And I'm going to make sure it's nice and flat, and then I'm going to put a weight on it. That is what they call simple gluing. And like I said, it's primarily for books where it's just that weird separation where the hinge is perfectly fine. And, you know, the hinge is you don't ever want to replace a hinge unless you absolutely have to. My rule of thumb is if you can glue it, glue it. So as we get more into other advanced types of gluing, you'll start getting a sense of why we want to use glue and do the least invasive we can with the books. So now that we've finished the simple gluing and had a chance to let our stuff dry, we're going to take a look at it. So we're going to remove our rubber bands and our knitting needles, and the first thing we're going to do is open it up and look at it, and it's nice and tight. Now, as you can see here, we're going to want to put just a little more glue in here and just a sheet of paper. So we would throw some glue in here, a sheet of paper, and let it dry again. Many times when we're doing simple gluing and complex gluing, we may have to do things in increment. But that's fine, nice and tight, not coming apart, so that one's good. This one came out great. You would never know. Okay, so we're looking good. See you next time.